speak against me, then use the same courage that it took for me to say those truths. Man to man, eye to eye, integrity and in truth. I've spent a lifetime earning the right to speak with the conviction about these truths that I speak. So if you want to tear that down, have the decency to come and say it directly to my face. And say it like a man.
What if the biggest scandal in Hollywood wasn't just about one man, but about the entire system protecting him? For years, people whispered about secret parties, unspoken rules, and the price of fame. But no one said anything, not on the record, not like this, until now. Terrence Howard, the Oscar-nominated actor who once stood at the peak of Hollywood, just shattered the silence. In a raw, emotional, and unapologetic interview, he exposed what really goes on behind closed doors.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at it. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music and he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting, okay? So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you notice to be hands off with somebody. A number of producers come in to make the approach and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, threaten to knock their head off for talking to you or looking at you like you're a woman. When you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept. So always be the man in the room. And that's always been my whole thing. And I've lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play gay role. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that shit because the man card means everything.
And why some of the biggest names in music, sports, and film may be more involved than anyone imagined. Names like Diddy, Jay-Z, Beyoncé, even LeBron James. Howard's words weren't vague. They were direct, defiant, and dangerous. He said things most actors wouldn't even say behind closed doors.
So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place, what benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. And what we were brought in here as men. We produce 1,500 sperm per heartbeat for a reason, because the aggression is necessary. You don't trade that in, no matter what.
Let alone on a podcast with millions of viewers. And now, after speaking out, Terrence claims he's being threatened, not just from anonymous trolls, but from the very people he named.
Listen, before y'all talk about me, y'all need to talk to me. You see, once upon a time, if a man questioned another man's honor, he didn't do it from the shadows. He had to do it out in the open, with his name, his chest out, and his chin high, not hiding behind the keyboard or tucked behind editing clips of fair use disclaimers. You see, citing Section 107 of the Copyright Act does not give you free rein to defame, misrepresent, or harm another's reputation. Fair use is not a shield for character assassination. So here's the simple truth. If you take my words, my image, my ideas, and twist them to feed your fear and inflate your ego, if you profit off of my name while calling me a liar, then be prepared to stand behind your accusations.
What he revealed isn't just scandalous, it's explosive. If he's telling the truth, it means Hollywood's most powerful elite may have built their empires on exploitation, manipulation, and silence. And that silence It's breaking.
You got to take drugs. You're going through so much shit to try and deal with life. You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far. Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. But when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose some spiritual energy that has always been pushing through. Like if a woman gives up her womanly right of being a mother and taking care of her family and do all those things. When you give up those things, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You should have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid, it's gone. You don't have any foundation to pull yourself back from. So maintain your man.
At the height of his career, Terrence Howard had it all. He was starring in Oscar-nominated films, headlining blockbuster franchises like Iron Man, and dominating award show red carpets. He was charismatic, talented, and widely respected, the kind of actor producers begged to work with. And then he walked away. No dramatic exit, no long farewell, just silence. People wondered why. Theories ranged from creative burnout to personal issues. But according to Howard himself, the real reason was far darker, and it wasn't about what he was going through. It was about what Hollywood kept asking him to become. In a recent interview, Howard said he was offered roles that would skyrocket his fame, but only if he compromised who he was. He was asked to play parts that went against his values. More than once, he said, producers and executives suggested favors in exchange for opportunities. Not subtly, not jokingly, but with real intent. He turned them down every time. And with each refusal, another door closed. The phone stopped ringing, the opportunities dried up, but Howard didn't care. In his words, the man card means everything. He refused to sell his dignity for success. He didn't want to win awards if it meant giving up his soul. To him, fame wasn't worth it if it came with a permanent stain.
"I don't play gay roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that shit," he said flatly, unapologetically, because the man card means everything. To many, those words are controversial, but to Howard, they're not about anyone else. They're about self-respect. He wasn't judging anyone. He was just drawing a line in the sand, one he would not cross. And in Hollywood, drawing that line comes with a price. That price became very real when one of the most powerful men in the music industry started calling. Sean Diddy Combs, billionaire mogul, producer, entrepreneur, allegedly spent weeks trying to get close to Howard. It started innocently enough. Diddy said he wanted acting lessons. He wanted Howard to help him grow as a performer, maybe even collaborate musically. But according to Howard, something felt off from the very beginning. He showed up to a meeting expecting scripts, notes, maybe a plan. Instead, Diddy just stared at him, said nothing, offered no direction. Then he started asking to hear Howard's music. Again, no feedback, just long, silent stares. Eventually, Howard's assistant pulled him aside and said what Terrence had already started to suspect: he wants to fuck you. That was the last time Howard showed up. He cut off communication immediately. No more meetings, no more invites, no more contact. And suddenly, the air shifted. The same people who had once praised his work started pulling away. The opportunities stopped coming in. Howard says he became hands-off, blacklisted in ways the public would never see. Because in Hollywood, refusing certain advances can be dangerous, especially when the person making them is powerful, protected, and untouchable. But Howard didn't care. He didn't yell. He didn't expose it publicly. He just walked away. Until now. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Because not everyone said no. According to Howard, the ones who said yes didn't just lose their privacy or their dignity, they lost themselves. He says they're still haunted by the things they did to get where they are. The parties, the private sessions, the unspoken deals, the favors that came with fame. These guys, they can't get it out of their heads, Howard said, pointing to stars like Justin Bieber and Usher, artists who have long been rumored to carry private pain behind their public success. They end up on drugs, trying everything to forget what they did. They gave up their man card, and now they can't get it back.
It's a chilling image, some of the world's most admired celebrities suffering silently behind their designer sunglasses and platinum records. But Howard insists it's real, that success in Hollywood often comes at the cost of mental health, identity, and integrity. And he's not just talking about men. He says women who traded their bodies for roles also lost something permanent. They have the Oscar, they have the money, but they don't have the dream. They don't have the soul they started with. In Howard's eyes, the industry doesn't just break people, it strips them of their humanity. And it does so quietly, methodically, behind a curtain of glitz and glamour. You can't achieve success, he said, if it means trading out your integrity so others can stay in power. And according to him, that's exactly how Hollywood works. Up until now, Terrence Howard had mostly stayed quiet. He gave hints, dropped clues, but nothing that could shake the foundation of the industry, until he sat down for an interview with Patrick Bet-David. This wasn't a rehearsed media appearance or a polished PR tour. It was raw, unfiltered, and brutally honest. Howard didn't hold back. He spoke with the kind of fire that only comes from lived experience, the kind you earn when you've lost opportunities, friendships, and millions of dollars just to keep your conscience clear. He made it clear, this wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about bitterness. It was about truth. He looked directly into the camera and dared anyone who disagreed to face him, not with gossip, not with edited clips, but face to face, like a man. He challenged anyone who twisted his words to come out from behind their keyboards and speak with the same conviction he did. And that's when things escalated. Shortly after the interview aired, Howard claimed he was approached by individuals he had spoken about, and not in a friendly way. According to him, threats were made. The pressure was on. He knew he had crossed a line. But instead of backing down, Howard doubled down. In a follow-up video, he warned, "If you're going to speak against me, then use the same courage that it took for me to say these truths." That moment became a turning point, because Terrence wasn't just accusing a few people, he was exposing an entire system. A system of couch casting, of hush-hush parties, of silent suffering, and of powerful people who used fear, sex, and shame to keep the truth buried. Until now. While Terrence Howard has been called brave, defiant, and reckless, he isn't standing alone. There's one man who's been sounding the alarm for years, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. Long before lawsuits were filed and court dates were set, 50 was dropping cryptic warnings, throwing shade, and calling out what he called weird behavior in the industry, especially from Diddy. People laughed. They said he was just trolling. But now, 50's words are aging like prophecies. He's gone on record saying Diddy made him uncomfortable, invited him out, offered to take him shopping, a gesture that 50 found suspicious, saying, "That's something you say to a woman you're attracted to." He declined. He pulled away. And just like Howard, he got quiet. But he never stopped watching.
Now, with Terrence Howard speaking out, 50 has begun resurfacing old clips and interviews, reminding people that he's been calling this out for years. And unlike other celebrities, he's not worried about being exposed. Because, in his words, I didn't go to those parties. I wasn't down with any of that. He even called out other rappers directly, including Meek Mill, who allegedly accepted Diddy's invitations and appeared at events in matching outfits. While 50 distanced himself, others leaned in. And now the consequences are catching up. But 50's biggest warning is this: silence is a form of complicity. If you were at those parties, if you knew what was going on and you didn't say anything, you're part of the problem. And now, thanks to whistleblowers like Howard and 50, the world is finally listening. The shockwaves got even bigger when court documents dropped a list of names no one expected to see, not just as friends of Diddy, but as witnesses in lawsuits that paint a disturbing picture of what's allegedly been going on behind the scenes. Jay-Z, Beyoncé, LeBron James, Gloria Estefan. According to a lawsuit filed by Joseph Manzaro in Florida, he was drugged, abducted, and paraded through Diddy's freak-off party, wearing a mask, while some of the world's most famous people allegedly sat and watched.
One name in particular jumped out: Beyoncé. In the lawsuit, Manzaro claims that Beyoncé looked at him, half naked and humiliated, and asked, "What's this all about?" That one line echoed through social media like a bomb. Was she a bystander, a participant, or just someone who got pulled into something darker than she realized? Either way, the association alone is devastating. The suit goes further, alleging secret tunnels between Diddy's estate and Gloria Estefan's Miami property, used to transport unwilling participants to underground parties. Jay-Z and Beyoncé, long held up as the royalty of American pop culture, are now caught in the storm. They haven't been sued, at least not yet, but their names are being attached to some of the most disturbing accusations to hit Hollywood in decades. And in the court of public opinion, silence doesn't mean innocence. It raises even more questions. While many celebrities have stayed quiet, hoping the storm would pass, one Hollywood giant decided to speak. Kind of. Will Smith, long linked to Diddy through Hollywood's tangled web of friendships, broke his silence during a comedy show in San Diego. The tone was light, the crowd was laughing, but the message was clear. I ain't been anywhere near no damn freak-offs. I don't even like baby oil. It was a joke, but it wasn't funny. Because Will's name has been mentioned, not in lawsuits, but in whispers, in rumors. His former assistant even claimed he once caught Will cheating on Jada with actor Dwayne Martin. The internet ran wild with theories, and Will finally felt the need to say something, even if it was veiled in humor. But the question remains, why now? If Will had nothing to do with Diddy's dark side, why speak at all? Why use the word freak-off, a term pulled directly from court filings? Was it damage control, a way to get ahead of the headlines? Whatever the reason, his comments sparked more questions than answers. And like so many others, Will now finds himself under a spotlight he never wanted. Because when the truth starts unraveling, no one gets to sit quietly in the shadows. For years, Diddy seemed untouchable. He wasn't just a celebrity, he was an empire, a billionaire, a mentor, a man whose influence reached every corner of music, fashion, and television. But now that empire is collapsing, and the courts are pulling back the curtain on what may be the darkest chapter in his career.
On April 1st, 2025, a civil lawsuit was filed in Florida accusing Diddy, real name Sean Combs, of operating a coercive, organized criminal enterprise centered around abuse, manipulation, and sex trafficking. The case wasn't just another headline. It named 5 victims, it included explicit details, and it listed witnesses that shocked the world. Among them, Beyoncé, Jay-Z, LeBron James, Gloria Estefan. The most disturbing part?
The lawsuit alleges that the abuse didn't happen in secret basements or foreign hideaways, but in lavish mansions, at birthday parties, and inside homes connected by secret underground tunnels. The plaintiff, Joseph Manzaro, says he was drugged, abducted, and taken through one of those tunnels, allegedly ending up at a party for Diddy's teenage son, where he was forced to wear a grotesque mask and be paraded in front of guests. Court documents state that Beyoncé was present and visibly confused, but did nothing to stop it. Whether that makes her a witness or a bystander is up for the courts to decide. Diddy's legal team is in full panic mode. They requested a 2-month delay in the trial, claiming they weren't ready, but the judge denied their plea. Jury selection begins next month. The evidence is damning. Text messages, witness statements, even a video from 2016 that reportedly shows Diddy physically assaulting Cassie Ventura, his former partner. Diddy's lawyers insist the video is fake, but CNN, which obtained the footage, says otherwise. Meanwhile, more victims are coming forward. The case originally had 2. Now, at least 5 witnesses are expected to testify under oath, and more could be added as the trial unfolds. This isn't a tabloid scandal anymore. It's a legal reckoning. What began as whispers is now echoing through courtrooms. The industry that once rewarded silence and punished truth-tellers is finally being dragged into the light, kicking, screaming, and denying all the way. But it's happening, and the world is watching. For decades, celebrities like 50 Cent and Terrence Howard warned us. They called out the manipulation. They rejected the parties. They walked away when everyone else stayed. They were laughed at, mocked, called bitter, crazy, jealous, or washed up. But now their stories are aligning with legal evidence. The so-called gay mafia, a term many laughed at, now seems less like a conspiracy and more like a poorly kept secret. According to whistleblowers, record label executives, producers, and directors all played roles in normalizing abuse behind closed doors. It was never just one man. It was a system. And when that system is finally exposed, it won't just bring down Diddy.
It could unravel everything. If Jay-Z is called to testify, if Beyoncé's statement contradicts other witnesses, if LeBron James has to answer for what he saw, then the conversation around fame, success, and power in America will never be the same. This isn't just about Diddy anymore. It's about how far this goes and who else falls when the truth finally breaks through. Terrence Howard once said, "This is the end of the great lie." And maybe he's right. Because as terrifying as the details are, what's even scarier is how long this was allowed to continue, how many people knew, how many people looked the other way, and how many people still think they're untouchable. But not anymore. With lawsuits stacking up, courtrooms filling with victims, and documentaries like Did He Do It set to expose what's been hidden for decades, the game is changing. Silence isn't safe anymore. Fame doesn't offer protection, and loyalty to predators is now a liability. Hollywood is standing at the edge of something massive, a reckoning not just for Diddy, but for everyone who built success by staying silent. The question isn't if the truth comes out, it's who survives it.